right, Jay, so we're here in Newport, Rhode Island. You're here filming with us and Donald for Mansions and Motor Cars, and we figured why not take out a couple cars?
Well, yeah, you know, it's interesting. I always hear Seinfeld and Spike Fierstein on his radio show always talking about this car, and especially the new ST. And I'm not up on all my Porsche nomenclature. There's so many variations of the 911. I don't even feel qualified to speak about it because I know Porsche guys that have serial numbers memorized and know every single detail, how many they built in '63, so to me it's a bit overwhelming. I mean, your initial impression, I like to think of myself as just a car guy who likes to drive. I don't consider myself a race car driver or anything like that, but I enjoy automobiles. And this does everything you expect an automobile to do. You know, it's so funny. Everybody talks about this single mass clutch, and you can hear it kind of making noise in the back. If you've ever had a Ducati motorcycle, you're familiar with this because they all make that sort of clutch chatter. I'm so surprised that the Germans would tolerate it.
Yeah, exactly.
You think they would go, no, we cannot have the clatter. It's not, but it is part of the mystique of the automobile.
Yeah. So we're in our 2016 911R, which it's hard to believe is almost 10 years old now. But
it is 10 years old.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild to me. And when this car came out, when Porsche announced that they're going to be building this car, it really ignited the automobile world because it was that period of time where people were unsure, or companies were unsure if they're going to keep producing a manual transmission. The PDK and Porsches and the race cars and the GT3 RS cars were so good. And then Porsche announced that they're making the most pure 911 that they've made, in honor of the 911R from the 60s.
I think we've reached a point where we're not at performance limits, even though they have vehicles now with well over 1,000 horsepower.
Right.
So it's getting back to the driving experience. I keep hearing rumors that Ferrari is going to make a new F40.
That's what they're
with a manual transmission.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
And that's really exciting because then you're back to the thrill of driving. I drove an F40, and it was one of the most exciting cars I ever drove. Was it the fastest? No, but the visceral impact of things moving quickly and shifting, and it was an exciting car to drive, as this is.
Exactly.
This is about as close to a race car as you can get for the street. And in 2016, how long ago? I'm looking for the backup camera. There isn't one. You realize how fast technology goes. Suddenly the car seems old-fashioned,
And this was cool too, because you could actually order this car without navigation, without this screen, even without air conditioning. Again, going back to the roots of the original 911R and the driving and what people were using them for. I would love to see how many were actually ordered without air conditioning.
That almost seems silly to me.
Right.
It's like, to me, I see guys and they order a Ducati with. Here's my favorite story. A guy I know who's not really a motorcycle guy, not an engine. Well, okay, and he puts a carbon fiber cover on his motorcycle, and he says it weighs less. I go, well, you can't put something over it and it weighs less. He goes, no, it's carbon fiber. I know, but it's not. The gas tank isn't carbon. You just covered the gas tank with a carbon fiber, and he was like, "No, it doesn't make it lighter." Well, how could if I put a carbon fiber hat on your head that weighs 1 pound, you're going to weigh 1 pound more?
I think some salesman had fun with him.
Well, it just sort of makes me laugh, So, to me, not to get air conditioning, especially when you live in California, it's 100 degrees, and modern air conditioning is not like the old-fashioned air conditioning where it was 300 pounds and
pulled power from
a refrigeration unit. Yeah. It's a small, compact, like vintage air unit.
Yeah. And the nice thing about this car, they made, I think the biggest issue people had with this car is how few they made. They only made 991 in homage of.
Smart manufacturers make one less than they need. Porsche makes 100 less than they need. They're so cautious.
Yeah.
But you see why. When the Carrera GT came out, I couldn't wait. I was waiting in line with my money to put my money down, and I bought one as soon as I heard about it. I think they were supposed to build 1,500, and they stopped at like 1,230 because they couldn't sell them.
I remember going to, I was 12, 13 years old when that car came out, and I remember going to showrooms and seeing them there.
Yeah.
Like on the floor. That is not the case with any car of that, stature, including this. of course, the 911 ST, which we're going to be driving next, which is essentially what many are saying is the next version of the 911R, the ultimate hardcore purist drivers.
Yeah,
Porsche.
Seinfeld raves about it, and I said, I got to drive one. I got to get my hands on that.
Yeah.
So when I was coming back to Rhode Island, let me give the guys at the Audrain a call, see if they got a couple. And of course you do, and I'm anxious to drive that. Well, that's just the updated version of this.
That's what many people, that's what Porsche, they're not going to officially say that, but that's essentially yes.
Right.
Obviously, some components of the car are different, a different body, some more aero on the ST, slightly more power on the ST, but the ST is heavier than this. This is a lighter, more, if you will, raw car. I mean,
I'm surprised they haven't come up with a 911 with no flywheel. The F1 has no flywheel.
Yeah.
When you turn the key off, it stops right now.
Oh, really?
It stops right this second.
I'd love to see.
I mean, the best analogy I could make was Paul McCartney. I was working with Paul McCartney, and he was doing a concert, and his song started right now and ended right now. You don't hear a bling. You don't hear a note. You don't hear just a sound where a musician is
really
off by
tight, right?
10th of a second. The song ends right now, and boom. And that's what the F1 McLaren reminds me of. When you shut it off, right there, it stops right there. Right there.
That must really throw people off.
It doesn't go a full stroke, and like a flywheel. The point of a flywheel is to keep rotational mass, to keep you moving, and to smooth it out.
Yeah.
But if you have a perfectly balanced engine, technically, I suppose you don't need a flywheel.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that. And the nice thing about this car too, and the ST, yes, more so this car, is you can drive this to a parking lot and park it, and people don't really know what it is. The Porsche, like you said, going back to the Porsche heads, of course they're going to see it, the stripes and the unique aspects of this car. No, it's a 911R, but for the most part, you can get away driving this car with really out.
That's what's cool. I equate it to the Green Berets. The soldiers.
Yeah.
We do a lot with veterans, and we had some Green Berets come to the garage, and they just look like your average guy playing video games. I mean, they're not muscle bound. They're not extremely handsome. I mean, they're just regular guys that have extraordinary abilities.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. It's a sort of a regular looking car that has extraordinary abilities. It's not like a Pagani or something where you go, oh my God, what is that?
Exactly.
Oh, that's a Porsche. But is that just a regular Porsche, or is that the fastest one they ever built? And the difference between those is minuscule.
Yeah.
It's just so funny.
And with the success of this, and with what this car did to not only the Porsche world but the car world, and when these came out on the second hand, they were close to $1 million. That's how quick the people wanted them that bad. And I think Porsche realized that, and they wanted to, I don't want to say control the market a little bit, but with the next version of the GT3, they came out with what was called the touring package.
Right.
Which, doesn't have a wing, doesn't have, kind of looks, you get the GT3 aspects without the flash, without looking like, you're going to the track to race.
Well, the thing I love about Porsche is just the whole package. In any race that Porsche is in, almost guaranteed Porsche has the least amount of horsepower.
Yeah.
Because it's not about horsepower. It's about handling and aerodynamics and how fast you can go with how much weight you can take out of it. Anytime you watch a Le Mans race, everybody else is 700, 800, 900 horsepower. And, well, for example, like the Mustang GTD, that had, I think, 815 horsepower. And Porsche was slightly faster, around with 500.
With the aero, the transmission, you're absolutely right. But without the sound deadening, I mean, this car sounds amazing. That flat six, about 500-ish
It's so
horsepower.
funny. I'm so used to old cars. This feels like sound deadening.
That's true.
I'm used to stuff with blasting my ears out. I mean, I find it very comfortable. It's not drony on a long trip. And it's so precise. I mean, that's what's so fun about these kind of cars. Porsches are expensive, but they're not rare.
Correct.
I mean, you see them all over the place. And every sort of form, you'll see them with PDKs and So I just go to the market and I just try to, you know, I know people that just use it as a regular car, but just like the precise handling. They're not out there going crazy on the weekends up on Angeles Crest. But it's so linear, and that's what I love about it. You put your foot in it, and it pulls so hard. You know, I get to drive a lot of supercars, and the ones that I don't really care for, the ones that just have like a big American V8 and they make a lot of noise, and they're fast.
Yeah.
But it's not precision. You know,
I completely agree. And you know, I tell people, you know, when people, you know, I have the privilege of driving a lot of cars in our collection, and I always come back to Porsche just because of how good of a overall package it is, like you were saying. And it's almost like you're almost disappointed that you like the Porsche so much because of just how good they are, because everyone just, you know, raves about them. But the reality is you know, they are that good. And I think this car specifically, the 911R, really set the next, you know, I don't want to say 10 years because that's where we are now, but it set the bar of what they're going to continue to do and what people really want. And I think Porsche, unlike any other brand, has kind of listened to their customer, continued making the manual transmission. You know, you can choose a wide variety of colors, whatever it may be. I think that's really where Porsche thrives.
Yeah, but you have races now where it's just manuals. Because let's face it, no human can shift as quickly as the modern dual clutch automatic.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's like, you know, when I was a kid, a computer could never beat a chess master.
Yeah.
But we're past that point.
Oh,
A chess master just gets their ass kicked every
it's
time.
Not even a, you know.
I mean, it's the same thing with all these automatic transmissions and dual clutch. So you want to get back to the simple act of just driving.
Just enjoyment.
Yeah, it really makes it fun.
Yeah. And that's what Porsche offers now, is they have the RS cars, the more track-focused cars, which are only PDK, and then they just have the regular GT3s, which you can get with a manual transmission or the PDK.
But you know, it's funny, as good as they are, they couldn't make a living just selling 911s.
Of course.
You know, I'm so glad they came out with the Cayman and the Panamera and all, because you've got to be a money-making property. To make the 911, there's so much engineering that goes into it. And they have to make exactly the right number. If it's not the right number, they lose money. Like with the Carrera GT.
Yeah.
They thought 1,500, but people were like, I don't know, V10 or what, and a Porsche. You know, it wasn't. I remember for the longest time, Carrera GTs were $2.25.
Yeah.
You know, they just sat around for a couple of years after they initially came out. And then all of a sudden they went to $2 million. Now they're back to about $1.5 million.
A lot of people say the greatest supercars ever made are the McLaren F1 and the Carrera GT, which you have both of.
Right.
You know, what would you say, you know, is there between the two, are they?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. Well, don't forget, the McLaren F1 came out in the early 90s.
Yeah.
You know, people say to me, why does it have steel brake rotors? Because they hadn't been invented yet. You didn't have carbon ceramic. You didn't have them. They weren't out. It's an old car. The fact that it still looks contemporary is a tribute to Peter Stevens, the man who designed it. You know, so I think the F1 probably would win just on sheer lightness.
Yeah.
Who would win in a race?
How's the transmission feel in that car compared to the, you know?
Well, it's very bolt action, like a rifle.
Yeah.
I mean, it really clicks right in. I mean, it's a real driver's car.
Yeah.
It's built to be a road car, not a race car. That's where Gordon Murray was really smart.
Yeah.
Because he didn't build it to be a race car for the street where you're getting kidney punched every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Even the Rocket, that weighs
you're right,
750 pounds, whatever it is. But it's a birdcage. It handles and it drives softly. It's really an amazing vehicle to drive.
Yeah. And that's what, you know, this is a driver's car, similar to that. Obviously, a little less in value than a McLaren F1 or Carrera GT, but still that
When you realize how much engineering goes into each little tiny bit of this car.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times I get to drive a lot of resto mods and things like that, and people put incredible engines, and you realize, well,
they didn't do anything.
They didn't spend enough time on the steering of it's okay.
It's not dialed in.
It's not like this.
Yeah.
This feels so perfectly balanced. And the fact that almost your standard 911 is probably faster than the supercars were from a generation ago.
Yeah.
Let's go to the ST. And this one, like the other, normally aspirated with a few more horsepower. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's right. So we're now in our 2024 911 ST, which we were saying in driving the 911R, the current generation's version of the 911R, the purest driving version of the 911. And currently, I would say probably the most popular or most hyped 911, and you know, everyone who's reviewed it, driven it, has said the car has lived up to that hype.
Yeah, everybody raves about it. Yeah. I mean, you know, Seinfeld goes on and on. I heard them on with Spike on his radio show, and so I said, I got to try one of these. It is very nice.
Yeah,
but they're probably all sold out, aren't they?
Yeah. So they made 1963.
Right.
As an homage to
1963.
Yeah. 60 years of the 911.
Right.
So that was this. This was kind of Porsche's way of saying, hey, you know, the engineers, designers, if you guys could make a car, what would it be? And this is what it was, you know.
And no rear wheel steering or anything.
That's correct. No rear wheel steering. The gearing is 8% less than, you know, it's shorter shifting.
Why would you not want rear wheel steering? Isn't there an advantage to that? Is it just too heavy?
I think the weight, you know, the point of these cars is just all about saving weight. Versus the track cars or anything like that. This is purely road with saving weight. Right. You know, you got, we were saying, you got the leather pull straps for the door handles.
Right.
You know, every way they can possibly save weight, they give you an option to at least. You can get the bucket seats. This one we've equipped with the comfort seats, a little more comfortable for driving on the road.
Yeah, these are wonderful seats, actually.
Yeah, they're great
nice
seats. And like the 911R, you have that single mass flywheel, so you hear the chatter. And as we were saying earlier, it's a little more refined in this car than the 911R.
I can't say it's intrusive at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I barely.
That's when you notice it, when you put your foot on the clutch and
I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's really not bad.
If you got the radio on, you don't even know.
Yeah. You know, in 2016, the 911R was thought to be the swan song, if you will, for the manual transmission. They weren't sure, like we were saying, if it was going to cut. Now, this is kind of the swan song of this engine, what they're able to do with emissions, and having a 6-speed manual transmission paired with the GT3 RS engine.
And this is a 4-liter, correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, about a little over 500 horsepower, about 520-ish horsepower or so. And the suspension is also slightly softer than the GT3, than the GT3 RS's. So it's actually a more comfortable car on the road. You don't get beat up as bad.
I wonder which one most Porsche files would want, this one or the yellow one?
It's funny, you know, when this came out, there's, you know, videos of YouTuber, car reviewers, whatever, and, you know, they're naturally comparing it to the 911R. And I've seen a few where they interview the head of, you know, the performance arm of, I can't remember his name off the top of his head, but they ask him, you know, if you were to have the 911R in a certain spec or a 911 ST, what is, and he, you know, you can kind of see 911R may be the winner, but, you know, naturally says the 911 ST. And you don't really, you know, you kind of miss the days of when car companies kind of go all out on a model, and I feel like that's what they did with this. Of course, in turn, it ended up being the most expensive 911 ever from the factory, but what you get with it is unlike any other product out there, and I think that's what makes it unique. And I think you could say that with the Mustang GTD too. You know, I think that's a cool. They really wanted to make something balls to the wall, and they did it.
Yeah, well, this is impressive. It gets out of its own way.
There's nothing like an engine that revs to 9,000.
I know. It's just so rigid. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
No flex at all.
And the steering is just so precise. It's unlike anything else.
I know, you don't have to change the body every year.
Right.
You can actually do some worthwhile improvements.
So what are your impressions driving this versus the other? Have you noticed any? I mean, we haven't gone too hard yet, but
This seems a bit more refined than the other car.
yeah.
If you have an understanding spouse, to be more understanding of this one.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
I mean, they're wonderful cars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like about Porsche, you know, and to the same token, almost a Corvette, you know. So many exotic car owners brag about how few miles they have, whereas Corvette and Porsche owners brag about how many miles they have.
Right. Yeah.
You know? I mean, to see a 911 with a 75, 80,000 miles, not unusual at all.
Not at all.
If you saw a Ferrari that kind of mileage, oh my God, people run away.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a good thing.
Yeah.
Just pulls so effortlessly.
Yeah, it really does. But it feels like it does it scientifically as opposed to just brute force.
Yeah.
You know, that's my favorite thing about the P1 McLaren. It's like a scalpel. It's not a swinging hacksaw. I mean, a swinging machete. You know, it doesn't beat you to death. It just seduces you.
Brakes, of course, no problem.
Yeah, brakes unbelievable. Yeah. But it's amazing. The 911 has already surpassed what the Carrera GT and the 918 were capable of.
Yeah.
Now your fastest Porsche is a 911.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they've got another Halo car sitting in the wing somewhere.
I know. Everyone seems to be waiting for it.
And they thought it was this. They thought they were going to do a 917, the version.
I know, the one that Penske. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah, when they teased that at Le Mans, I was hoping that they were going to be coming out with a customer something because you know everybody is clawing to get a replacement 918 or the next 918, if you will.
But this thing is great. This is really terrific.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's really just a slightly updated version of the other one.
Yeah. And you know, Porsche has all these. You know, when you get the cars, the performance cars, they have all these controls on the steering wheels. They have all these sort of different settings you can do. This doesn't have any of that.
Right.
This is just drive.
Yeah. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like the concept of charging you more for things that cost less.
It's a good concept. We should. It sounds so good. I love that noise.
It's like going to a restaurant. If you don't want the fries, it's an extra $5.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it pulls very hard.
Yeah. That's all you need. I mean, like
And
you were
it just
saying.
grips.
Yeah.
Porsche Sean, thanks, and thanks to Audrain for letting me try these two cars. They're really fantastic. You know, I could take either one of them, actually.
Yeah.
I do like this ST. It's very nice. Although there's some about the early one seems a bit more raw.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
I think I might like that one more. Because you know, I tend to buy vehicles for one specific reason. You know, if I buy a performance car, it's just about performance. I don't want a car like an SUV that does everything. You can go to Home Depot, carry lumber, and race it. I don't want to do. I do. Those are two separate things to me. You know. I look at the F1 guys like Lando and all those guys. They look like kids to me. They look like high school kids. They're so young.
They look like kids to me.
And you realize just how good they are at what they do. And these kind of cars make you feel like those guys.
Yeah,
and that's what's really fun. You can scare yourself to death in this thing, but still have a lot of fun doing it.
That's a great way to put it. Well, I do appreciate it, Jay. I always love driving with you.
Oh yeah, thanks for the opportunity here. And the Audrain is a great place to visit, and you can see all these cars. And everything at the Audrain gets used. You know, it doesn't sit static.
No.
If they get something that's been broken for 40 years, they fix it before they put it on display.
Absolutely.
A classic example of that would be the Nick Begovich collection. When they had it at the museum, they made sure the Picassos, everything was back together and running before they displayed it. And I thought that's the best way to do it, because it's like a living museum. Everything gets rotated, everything gets used, and it's a lot of fun. And the fact that I can come down and try out cars like this, wow, that makes it all worthwhile.
Well, there's any car has a key for you, Jay. You know
Well, I appreciate it.
And if you guys like these videos, please subscribe and like.